Don't you touch her? The 7-year-old's voice cracked with terror, but his small body didn't move. Blood was already running down his arm, hot and sticky, soaking through his threadbare shirt. The man with the knife was twice his size, maybe 3 times, but Ethan didn't step back. Behind him, he could hear Lily's breathing fast, scared alive. That's all that mattered. Before we continue with Ethan's story, I want to ask you something. Hit that subscribe button right now and stick with me until the very end of this story. And drop a comment telling me what city you are watching from. I want to see how far Ethan's story travels. Now let's get back to that moment behind the diner where everything changed. 3 hours earlier, Ethan had been doing what he did every Tuesday afternoon, counting bottle caps behind Mulligan's Diner on 5th Street. Not because he was collecting them, not because they were worth anything, but because when you're 7 years old and living in a cardboard box behind a dumpster, you count things to feel like you have something. 47, 48, 49. His fingers were dirty nails cracked and black underneath. The bottle caps clinked softly as he sorted them into piles. Red ones, blue ones, silver ones. The asphalt was still warm from the afternoon sun, and somewhere inside the diner, people were eating hot meals off clean plates. Ethan didn't think about that anymore. Thinking about it made his stomach hurt worse than the hunger. 50, 51, 52. What are you doing? The voice startled him so badly he dropped the cap he was holding. It bounced twice and rolled under the dumpster. Ethan's heart hammered. His first instinct was to run. That's what you did when you were a homeless kid, and someone caught you somewhere you weren't supposed to be. But when he looked up, it wasn't an angry adult. It was a girl maybe a year younger than him with dark curly hair pulled into 2 ponytails and a yellow dress that looked like sunshine. She was smiling at him like he was the most interesting thing she'd seen all day. Ethan swallowed hard. I'm counting. Counting what? She crouched down next to him, not seeming to care that the ground was dirty. Her shoes were white and clean. They wouldn't be for long. Bottle caps. Why? Nobody had ever asked him why before. Adults told him to move along, to get lost, to stop loitering. Other kids usually just stared or whispered or laughed. But this girl with the sunshine dress was looking at him like his answer actually mattered. Because Ethan picked up another cap, turned it over in his palm. Because I can. Because they're here and I'm here and it's something to do. The girl nodded slowly like this made perfect sense. Then she sat down cross-legged on the asphalt right next to him and picked up a red bottle cap. I'm Lily, she said. What's your name, Ethan? How many do you have so far, Ethan? 52, 51 actually, one rolled away. Want me to help you find it? And just like that, without any fuss or questions about why a 7-year-old boy was alone behind a diner, looking like he hadn't had a bath in a week, Lily got down on her hands and knees and peered under the dumpster. I see it, she announced triumphantly. Her arm wasn't long enough to reach it, but Ethan's was barely. He stretched until his shoulder ached his fingers, just managing to hook the cap and drag it back. 52, again, Lily said, grinning. She had a gap between her front teeth. That's a good number. My dad says 2 is a lucky number because that's how many wheels a motorcycle has. Your dad has a motorcycle, Hongpo. Uh-huh, a really big one. It's black and silver and so loud you can hear it coming from like a mile away. She held up the red cap to the fading sunlight, examining it like it was a precious stone. He's inside getting us dinner. We're supposed to eat at home, but I wanted a milkshake, so he said, okay. Ethan didn't know what to say to that. He couldn't remember the last time someone had bought him anything, let alone a milkshake, just because he wanted one. Do you like milkshakes? Lily asked. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't really. You should come inside. My dad always orders too much food anyway. Mom says his eyes are bigger than his stomach, but I think he just likes leftovers. I can't. Ethan looked down at his clothes, the shirt that was more holes than fabric, the jeans that were too short and held up with a piece of rope, the shoes with the soles flapping loose. They wouldn't let me. Lily frowned. Why not? Because He couldn't say it, couldn't say the word homeless out loud, not to this girl with her clean white shoes and her dad who bought milkshakes just because. But Lily wasn't looking at his clothes anymore. She was looking at his face and her expression had changed. Not to pity, Ethan knew what pity looked like. This was different. This was understanding maybe, or something close to it. My dad says people who judge you by what you're wearing are too stupid to see what's inside. She picked up another bottle cap, added it to the blue pile. And he's really, really smart, so I believe him. Before Ethan could respond, a door slammed somewhere around the front of the building. Heavy footsteps. Voices. Lily. Lily Marie Reyes, where did you go? The girl jumped to her feet. That's my dad. Come on, you have to meet him. No, But she'd already grabbed his hand, pulling him around the corner of the dumpster toward the parking lot. Ethan wanted to resist, wanted to run back to his spot and his bottle caps and his invisibility, but Lily's hand was warm and sure, and for just a second he let himself be pulled along. The parking lot was half empty in the early evening light. A massive black and silver motorcycle sat near the door, chrome gleaming. Next to it stood a man who looked like he'd been carved out of granite, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a leather vest covered in patches. His arms were covered in tattoos and his face was set in an expression of worry that softened the instant he saw Lily. There you are, I told you to stay where I could see you, baby girl. I know, Daddy, I'm sorry, but look who I found. Lily pulled Ethan forward and suddenly the man's eyes were on him. Ethan froze. He'd learned to read adult expressions fast. It was a survival skill. But this man's face was hard to decode. There was surprise, definitely. Assessment, but not disgust. Not yet. Lily, honey, who's your friend? This is Ethan. He was counting bottle caps behind the building. He's really good at it. He got all the way to 52. The man crouched down, bringing himself closer to Ethan's height. Up close, he looked less like granite and more like a mountain, immovable, powerful, but somehow not threatening. Ethan, huh? I'm Dominic. My friends call me Dom. He held out a hand the size of a dinner plate. Ethan stared at it. When was the last time an adult had offered to shake his hand? When was the last time an adult had treated him like he was worth acknowledging? Slowly, he reached out and put his small, dirty hand in Dom's large, calloused one. Nice to meet you, sir, Ethan whispered. Dom's handshake was firm, but gentle. Likewise, kid. You hungry? The question hit Ethan like a punch. His stomach had been empty for so long, he'd almost stopped noticing. But now, with the smell of food drifting from the diner and this man's kind eyes on him, the hunger came roaring back. I don't have any money. Did I ask if you has money? Dom stood up, keeping his hand on Lily's shoulder. I asked if you were hungry. Those are two different questions, Ethan. Daddy always has extra food, Lily chimed in. I told him, but Dom looked at his daughter with an expression Ethan had never seen directed at him, pure uncomplicated love. Then he looked back at Ethan. Why don't you wash up at the sink around back and we'll get you something to eat? Sound good? It sounded too good. It sounded like a trick, like something that would be snatched away the second Ethan let himself believe it was real. But Lily was beaming at him, and Dom was already walking back toward the diner entrance, and Ethan's feet were moving before his brain caught up. He did wash up at the outdoor sink, scrubbing his hands and face with the harsh industrial soap until his skin was pink and raw. When he looked at his reflection in the small mirror someone had hung above the sink, he barely recognized himself. Without the layers of grime, he looked less like a street rat and more like what he was, a scared, tired little boy. When he came around to the front, Dom was waiting by the motorcycle with 2 large bags of takeout. Lily's inside finishing her milkshake, he said. I figured you and I could have a talk man to man while we wait. Ethan's stomach dropped. Here it came, the lecture, the judgment, the questions about where his parents were and why he was living on the streets and had he considered going to a shelter. But Dom just handed him one of the bags. There's a burger in there, fries, and a piece of apple pie. You eat it however you want, fast or slow. Doesn't matter to me. But while you do, I want to ask you something and I want you to tell me the truth. Can you do that? Ethan nodded, clutching the bag like it might evaporate. Are you safe where you're staying? The question caught him off guard. Not where are your parents or why are you alone, but are you safe? Yeah, I'm okay. That's not what I asked. Dom's voice was gentle but firm. Safe means nobody's hurting you. Safe means you have a place to sleep where you're protected from the weather and from people who might want to harm you. Are you safe, Ethan? The tears came before Ethan could stop them. Hot and shameful, streaming down his freshly washed face. He tried to wipe them away, but they kept coming. Hey, it's all right. Dom's hand landed on his shoulder, heavy and warm. You don't have to answer right now. Just eat your food, okay? We'll figure out the rest. Ethan opened the bag with shaking hands. The burger was still hot, wrapped in paper, and when he took his first bite, the taste was so overwhelming, he nearly choked. Real meat, cheese, fresh lettuce, and tomato. He hadn't eaten anything hot in 2 weeks. Dom didn't say anything while Ethan ate. He just stood there, a solid presence, occasionally glancing toward the diner to check on Lily through the window. She likes you, Dom said after a while. My daughter. She doesn't take to people that easily, but something about you. She saw something good. She's nice. Ethan managed around a mouthful of fries. She's everything. Dom's voice had changed, gotten quieter. Her mom passed away 3 years ago. Lily was only 3, too young to really remember her, but old enough to feel the loss. Since then, it's been just the two of us. Well, us and the club. Club. Thunder Saints Motorcycle Club. I'm the president. Got about 70 members locally, couple hundred nationwide. We ride together, look out for each other, take care of our own. He paused. Take care of people who need it too. Ethan didn't know what to say to that. In his experience, adults made promises they didn't keep. They said nice things and then disappeared. They offered help and then attached strings. But something about Dom felt different. Maybe it was the way he talked about Lily, that raw honesty in his voice. Maybe it was the way he hadn't asked invasive questions or made Ethan feel like a charity case. Or maybe it was just that Ethan was so starved for kindness that he was willing to believe in anything that felt like hope. Mr. Dom, Ethan started. Just Dom. Dom, thank you for the food and for not being mean. Something flashed across Dom's face, anger, maybe but not at Ethan, at the world that had taught a 7-year-old to expect meanness as the default. You don't ever have to thank someone for treating you like you matter, Ethan. Because you do matter. You hear me? Ethan nodded even though he didn't quite believe it. That's when the van pulled into the parking lot. It was white windowless, moving too slowly. Dom's posture changed immediately, shoulders back, feet planted, every muscle suddenly coiled and ready. Ethan had seen predators before. He knew what they looked like, and Dom had just transformed from a friendly giant into something much more dangerous. Ethan, Dom said quietly, go inside and find Lily, right now. But Ethan didn't move. He was watching the van, watching the way it was circling the parking lot like a shark, and something cold and terrible was uncurling in his gut. The van stopped, 20 feet away. The driver's side door opened. The man who stepped out was thin, middle-aged, wearing sunglasses even though the sun was almost down. He looked at Dom, then at Ethan, then back at Dom. Evening, the man said. His voice was too friendly, too smooth. Didn't mean to startle you folks, just looking for my nephew. Little guy about 7 years old might have wandered off from our picnic. Haven't seen anyone matching that description, Dom said. His voice had gone flat, emotionless. You sure? Because that boy right there. The man pointed at Ethan. He looks about the right age. He's with me. Is that so? The man took a step closer. Because I could have sworn I saw him earlier all alone digging through trash. Doesn't look like someone who's with anybody, if you know what I mean. Dom moved so he was directly between Ethan and the stranger. Think you should get back in your van and move along. And I think you should mind your own business, friend. The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm just trying to find my nephew. No need to get hostile. That's when Lily came out of the diner. Daddy, I finished my shake and they gave me a cherry and... She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes landing on the stranger. And Ethan saw it happen, saw the recognition flash across her face, saw the color drain from her cheeks, saw pure terror replace her earlier joy. That's him, she whispered. Daddy, that's the man from school. Everything seemed to happen at once. Dom's hand went to his phone. The stranger's hand went to his pocket. Lily screamed, and Ethan, operating on instinct rather than thought, grabbed Lily's arm and pulled her behind him, backing toward the diner entrance. Run! Dom's voice was a roar. Lily, run. But the stranger was faster than he looked. He lunged not for Dom, but around him, heading straight for the children. Dom caught him by the shoulder, spun him around, and there was a flash of silver. A knife. The stranger had a knife, and he was slashing wildly, trying to get past Dom to reach Lily. Dom blocked the first swipe, the second, but the third caught him across the forearm. Blood bloomed through his shirt sleeve. Go! Dom shouted, again grappling with the man. Lily was frozen, shaking, sobbing. The diner door was only 10 feet away, but it might as well have been a mile. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. So Ethan did the only thing he could think of. He screamed. Not a scared scream, not a cry for help, a battle cry, high-pitched and furious, and he charged at the stranger with his small fists raised. Leave her alone. The man turned surprised, and in that split second of distraction, Dom got him in a headlock. But the stranger was desperate now, thrashing, and the knife was still in his hand, slashing backward blindly. Ethan saw it coming, saw the blade arc through the air toward Lily's frozen form, and he didn't think, didn't hesitate, didn't calculate the odds or consider the consequences. He threw himself between the knife and Lily. The pain was immediate and absolute. White-hot fire tearing through his left arm from shoulder to elbow. He heard himself scream, heard Lily screaming, heard Dom roaring something that might have been his name. The parking lot tilted. The sky spun. Ethan's legs gave out and he was falling, and the last thing he saw before the asphalt rushed up to meet him was Lily's face, terrified but alive. Safe. Worth it, he thought. Whatever happens now, she's safe. Then the darkness came. When Ethan woke up, everything was white and beeping. Hospital. He'd been in one before years ago when his mom was still alive and still trying. Before the drugs took everything. Before he was alone. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain exploded down his left arm so intense his vision went spotty. Easy, easy. Hands on his shoulders, gentle but firm, pressing him back down. Don't move yet, kiddo. You've got about 15 stitches holding your arm together. The face that swam into focus was unfamiliar. A woman in blue scrubs, middle-aged with kind eyes and tired smile lines. Where? Ethan's voice came out as a croak. Where's Lily? The little girl, she's fine. She's perfect. Thanks to you. The nurse adjusted something on the IV pole next to his bed. You're a very brave boy, Ethan. Dom. Mr. Reyes is fine too. Cut on his arm, nothing serious. He's been here the whole time, actually. Won't leave. He's outside talking to the police right now, but I can get him if you... Police fear spiked through Ethan's chest. Police meant questions. Questions meant social services. Social services meant foster care, and foster care meant, hey, breathe. The nurse's hand found his good shoulder. The police are here because of that man who attacked you. He's in custody. You and Lily are safe and you're not in any trouble. I promise. But Ethan knew better than to believe promises. Adults said, I promise all the time, and then they broke their word, and then they left, and you were alone again. The door opened. Dom filled the doorway, his arm wrapped in white bandages from wrist to elbow. His face was drawn, exhausted, but when he saw Ethan awake, something in his expression shifted. Thank you, he said quietly. Just that. Thank you. And then to Ethan's absolute shock, this mountain of a man walked over to his bedside and very carefully, very gently put his hand on Ethan's head. You saved my daughter's life, kid. My Lily, my everything. You took a knife meant for her, and you're 7 years old, and you didn't even hesitate. His voice was shaking. How do I even begin to repay that? You don't owe me anything, Ethan whispered. I couldn't let him hurt her. She was nice to me. Nice to you. Dom let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. You almost died because she was nice to you. Is she really okay? She's perfect. Shaken up, scared, but not hurt. The man, his name is Richard Patterson. Turns out he's been stalking Lily for weeks. Watching her at school, following her around town. We didn't know. We didn't see it. Dom's jaw clenched. But that's over now. He's in custody, and he's never getting near her again. Patterson, Ethan repeated. The name meant nothing to him, but something about it seemed to mean something to Dom. Yeah, listen, Ethan, there's something I need to tell you. Something the police found when they arrested him. Ethan's heart started hammering. Nothing good ever followed those words. Patterson told him he was your uncle, said he had custody rights, but when they looked into it, Dom pulled up a chair, sat down heavily. Kid, do you have any family? Anyone at all? No, the word came out automatically. It was easier than explaining. Your mom, dead, 2 years ago. Ethan stared at the ceiling. Overdose. I was in the apartment with her for 3 days before someone found us. He heard Dom's sharp intake of breath, but didn't look at him. Couldn't look at him. And your dad? Never met him. Mom said he left before I was born. Siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles. No one. Ethan's voice was flat. It's just me. It's always been just me. The room was quiet except for the beeping of the heart monitor. Ethan could feel Dom processing this, could feel the weight of it settling between them. Patterson isn't your uncle, Dom finally said. He has no legal connection to you at all. But he told the police he's your mother's brother and he's filing for custody. Ice flooded Ethan's veins. What? He's lying, obviously. The police are investigating. But until they can prove he's lying, until they can verify that you have no living relatives, Dom's voice trailed off. Going into the system, Ethan finished. Foster care. Maybe, or maybe not. Dom leaned forward. Here's what I'm thinking. What if Patterson isn't the only one who can file for custody? Ethan finally looked at him. Dom's face was serious and tense, but there was something else there too. Something that looked almost like hope. What are you saying? I'm saying my daughter is alive because of you. I'm saying you risked your life for someone you'd known for all of 30 minutes. I'm saying Lily won't stop asking when you can come live with us. Dom's voice grew stronger. I'm saying you're 7 years old and you're homeless and you just proved you have more courage and heart than most adults I know. And I'm saying, he paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was rough with emotion. I'm saying you don't have to be alone anymore, Ethan. If you want, if you'll let me, I want to fight for you. I want to give you a home. The tears came again, but different this time. Not shame or fear, but something Ethan didn't have a name for. Something that felt too big for his chest, too overwhelming to contain. You don't even know me, he whispered. I know enough. I know you're brave. I know you're good. I know you love my daughter enough to die for her. Dom's hand found Ethan's good arm squeezed gently. And I know that if someone doesn't fight for you, you're going to slip through the cracks of a broken system. I've seen it happen too many times. I'm not letting it happen to you. But what about Patterson? What if he really is my uncle? What if... Then we'll deal with it. Together. Dom's grip tightened. You're not facing this alone, Ethan. Not anymore. I've got the whole Thunder Saints behind me, and they've got lawyers who specialize in this kind of thing. If Patterson wants a fight, he's going to get one. Ethan wanted to believe him. God, he wanted to believe so badly it hurt worse than the knife wound. But hope was dangerous. Hope was what got you hurt when it inevitably got ripped away. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you do this for me? Dom was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but certain. Because when my wife died, I made a promise. I promised I would raise Lily to see the good in the world, to stand up for people who needed help, to never turn away from someone in pain. And today when I met you behind that diner, I saw a kid who needed help, a kid in pain. And Lily, my beautiful, brilliant daughter, she saw you too. She saw past the dirt and the torn clothes and the homelessness, and she saw a friend, a good person. He leaned closer. And then you proved her right. You saved her life, Ethan. You're family now, whether there's paperwork or not, and I protect my family. Before Ethan could respond, the door burst open and Lily came flying into the room, her father barely catching her before she could launch herself at Ethan's hospital bed. Daddy said you were awake. Are you okay? Does your arm hurt? The doctor said you were really brave and that you're a hero. And Lily, baby, easy. Remember what we talked about? Ethan needs rest. But Lily wasn't listening. She was staring at Ethan with those huge brown eyes, tears streaming down her face. You saved me, she whispered. That man was going to take me, and you stopped him. Ethan didn't know how to finish that sentence. You're my best friend now, Lily declared with absolute certainty. And you're going to come live with us, and we're going to count bottle caps whenever you want, and Daddy's going to teach you how to ride a motorcycle, and everything's going to be okay. The simplicity of it, the pure, uncomplicated faith in her voice broke something open in Ethan's chest. I'd like that, he managed. And for the first time in 2 years, he let himself believe that maybe everything really would be okay. But in the hallway outside, unheard by the three of them, 2 police officers were having a very different conversation. Reyes wants custody. That's what he says, filing the paperwork tomorrow. And Patterson, already filed, claims he's the biological uncle, says the mother was his sister. He's got documents, photos, the whole 9 yards. Those could be faked. Could be real. We're running background checks trying to verify the family connection. But until we know for sure, Patterson has the legal right to petition for custody. Exactly. A pause, then what do you think? I think Patterson gives me the creeps. I think he was trying to kidnap that little girl. And I think if he gets anywhere near that boy, something bad is going to happen. But our hands are tied until the investigation is complete. Yeah, our hands are tied. They walked away, their footsteps echoing down the hospital corridor, leaving behind a question that would shape everything that came next. Who would get to keep Ethan? The man who wanted to save him, or the man who wanted to own him? And in a room 3 floors up, Ethan was laughing at something Lily said, completely unaware that the real fight was just beginning. The social worker arrived the next morning. Her name was Margaret Chen, and she had the kind of face that had seen too much tired eyes, tight smile, clipboard, held like a shield. She knocked once on Ethan's hospital room door before walking in, not waiting for an answer. "Good morning, Ethan. I'm Ms. Chen from Child Protective Services." Dom stood up from the chair he'd been sleeping in. His leather vest wrinkled his jaw tight. "He just woke up. Can this wait?" "I'm afraid not, Mr. Reyes. There are procedures we need to follow." Ms. Chen pulled up a chair on the opposite side of Ethan's bed, deliberately putting distance between herself and Dom. "Ethan, I need to ask you some questions about your living situation." Ethan's heart was already racing. He knew what this was. He'd heard about it from other street kids, the interviews, the evaluations, the way they picked apart your life, looking for reasons to ship you somewhere else. "I'm fine where I am," he said quietly. "Where is that exactly?" Ms. Chen's pen was poised over her clipboard. "The police report says you've been living behind Mulligan's diner. Is that correct?" "I have a spot. It's safe." "A cardboard box isn't safe, Ethan. It's safer than some places." Ms. Chen's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes, recognition. Maybe that this kid had seen things she couldn't put in a report. "Mr. Reyes has indicated he wants to file for emergency custody. Is that something you would want?" Ethan looked at Dom, who was standing statue still, barely breathing. Everything hung on Ethan's answer, and they both knew it. "Yes," Ethan said. "I want to stay with Dom and Lily. You've known them for less than 24 hours. I know they're good people." "That's not how the system works." Ms. Chen made a note on her clipboard. "There's also the matter of Richard Patterson. He's claiming to be your maternal uncle, and he's filed for custody as well." The name made Ethan's skin crawl. "He's not my uncle. My mom never mentioned any brother." "Do you have any documentation proving that birth certificates, family records, anything?" "I'm 7. How would I have that?" "Your mother's belongings got thrown out when the landlord cleared her apartment. Everything's gone." Ethan's voice was getting louder. "I don't know who Patterson is, but he's lying. He tried to kidnap Lily. He stabbed me. Why would you even consider?" "Because legally biological family has priority." Ms. Chen's voice was maddeningly calm. "If Patterson can prove he's your uncle, and if he has a suitable home environment, the court will likely grant him custody regardless of the criminal charges pending against him." "That's insane," Dom's voice boomed through the room. "The man is a predator." "The man is presumed innocent until proven guilty, Mr. Reyes. And even if he's convicted of attempted kidnapping, that doesn't automatically disqualify him from custody of a biological relative." "The hell it doesn't. Mr. Reyes, I understand you're upset, but..." "Upset I'm watching the system try to hand a 7-year-old hero over to the man who tried to murder him." Dom was shaking, now his hands clenched into fists. "What kind of backwards daddy?" Lily's small voice cut through the tension like a knife. She was standing in the doorway, still in her pajamas, her hand gripping the doorframe. "Daddy, you're scaring me." Dom's entire demeanor changed. He crossed to his daughter in 3 strides. Tough bum, scooped her up, held her close. "I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm sorry. Everything's okay." But Lily was looking at Ms. Chen over her father's shoulder, and her eyes were far too old for 6 years old. "Are you taking Ethan away?" "No one's taking anyone away right now," Ms. Chen said, but her voice had softened slightly. "We're just trying to figure out what's best for Ethan." "What's best is he stays with us." Lily's voice was fierce. "He saved my life. He's family." "Sweetheart, it's not that simple." "Why not?" Lily wriggled out of Dom's arms, walked right up to Ms. Chen's chair. "Ethan doesn't have a mom or a dad. We have room at our house. Daddy said we could give him the blue bedroom with the window that looks at the garden. Why can't he just come home with us?" Ms. Chen's professional mask slipped for just a second, and Ethan saw the human underneath, someone who'd probably gotten into this work wanting to help kids but had been ground down by bureaucracy and impossible choices. "Because there are rules, Lily, and sometimes the rules don't seem fair, but they exist for a reason. Rules that protect kidnappers." The words came from the doorway, a new voice deeper than Dom's, rough as gravel. Ethan looked up and saw another man in leather, older gray beard, arms like tree trunks with a Thunder Saints patch on his vest that said VP underneath. "Excuse me," Ms. Chen stood up defensive. "Who are you?" "Marcus Webb, Vice President of the Thunder Saints MC, and I'm here to tell you that if you think you're handing that boy over to Richard Patterson, you're going to have to go through every single member of this club first. Mr. Webb, threats aren't going to..." "Not a threat, a promise." Marcus walked into the room and somehow the space got smaller. We've done our homework on Patterson. You want to know what we found? Ms. Chen's lips pressed into a thin line. Any evidence you've gathered needs to go through proper legal channels. He's got 3 restraining orders from 3 different women in 2 states. He's been fired from 4 jobs for inappropriate behavior with minors. He's been investigated twice for child endangerment, but charges were dropped both times due to insufficient evidence. Marcus counted off on his fingers. And 2 days ago, he tried to kidnap a 6-year-old girl from a diner parking lot. You really want to put a vulnerable kid in that man's custody? Those are allegations. Those are facts. And if the system is so broken that biological family trumps documented predator, then maybe it's time to break the system. Mr. Webb, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Not until I say my piece. Marcus turned to Ethan and his expression gentled. Kid, I know you don't know me from Adam. But Dom here, he's my brother, not by blood, but by choice. And if he says you're family, then you're Thunder Saints family, and that means something. What does it mean? Ethan's voice came out smaller than he wanted. It means you're protected. It means we fight for you. It means you're never alone again. Marcus looked back at Miss Chen. And it means that we've got lawyers standing by ready to file emergency motions, character witnesses lined up, and enough political pressure to make this case very, very public if we need to. Ms. Chen's jaw was tight. Are you threatening to go to the media? I'm saying that a 7-year-old homeless boy saved a little girl's life by throwing himself in front of a knife, and the system wants to reward him by handing him over to his attacker. How do you think that story's going to play? The room went silent. Even Lily had stopped fidgeting. Finally, Ms. Chen closed her clipboard. I'll file my initial report this afternoon. There will be a hearing in 3 days to determine temporary custody. Until then, Ethan will remain in the hospital under state supervision. She looked at Dom. Mr. Reyes, you can visit during posted hours only. No overnight stays, no unsupervised contact. You can't be serious. I'm following protocol, which is more than I can say for some people in this room. She headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Mr. Reyes, I hope your lawyers are as good as Mr. Webb suggests, because you are going to need them. Then she was gone, and the room felt like a bomb had just gone off. 3 days, Dom said flatly. 3 days until they decide Ethan's entire future. We can work with 3 days. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm calling Tommy Zhao, best family law attorney in the state. He owes me a favor. Will he take the case? He'll take it, and he'll win it. Marcus was already dialing. But Dom, you need to understand this is going to get ugly. Patterson's not going to go down easy. And if he really does have documentation proving he's Ethan's uncle, we're going to be fighting uphill. I don't care if we're fighting vertical. That man doesn't get him. Ethan watched this conversation happening around him about him and felt that familiar powerlessness creeping back in. Adults deciding his fate. Adults making choices that would shape his entire life. And he was just supposed to sit there and let it happen. Hey! Lily had climbed up onto his hospital bed, careful to avoid his injured arm. She took his good hand in both of hers. Don't be scared, she whispered. My daddy's never lost a fight, ever. This isn't that kind of fight, Lily. All fights are that kind of fight. You just have to be brave enough to throw the first punch. She grinned, gap-toothed and fierce. And guess what? You already did. You punched that bad man's plan right in the face when you saved me. Despite everything, Ethan felt himself smile. That's not how punching works. Sure it is. You stopped him from taking me. That's the biggest punch there is. Before Ethan could respond, a nurse appeared in the doorway. Mr. Reyes, there's someone here to see Ethan. Says his name is Richard Patterson, and he has a court order allowing supervised visitation. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Absolutely not. Dom's voice was ice. That man doesn't get within 50 feet of this kid. Sir, if he has a court order, I don't care if he has a papal decree. He's not seeing Ethan. Mr. Reyes, I understand your concern, but we have to follow. Get out of my way. Dom was already moving toward the door and Marcus was right behind him, and Ethan could hear raised voices in the hallway, Patterson's smooth, fake concerned tone cutting through everything else. I just want to see my nephew. Is that so unreasonable? The poor boy must be terrified. You don't get to call him that. Dom's voice was deadly quiet, which was somehow worse than shouting. You don't get to pretend you care about him. I'm his blood, Mr. Reyes. You're just a stranger who's trying to swoop in and play hero. I'm the man whose daughter he saved. What are you? I'm family, And family comes first, doesn't it? Or does that only apply when it's convenient for your narrative? Ethan could hear it all through the open door, could hear Patterson's voice getting closer, could feel panic rising in his chest, hot and choking. Lily squeezed his hand harder. Don't let him see you scared. Bad people feed on scared. I'm not scared, Ethan lied. Yes, you are. That's okay. Being scared and being brave aren't opposites. My daddy told me that. She leaned in closer. You want to know a secret? Ethan nodded, not trusting his voice. That man out there, he's scared too. He's scared because his plan didn't work, and now everyone knows what he is. And he's scared because my daddy and the Thunder Saints are going to make sure he never gets what he wants. How do you know? Because I know my daddy and I know my family. And your family now, Ethan, which means you're protected by every single person wearing a Thunder Saints patch. That's like 200 people. Marcus said a couple hundred nationwide. See 200 people who will fight for you. How many people does that bad man have? Ethan thought about it. None, exactly none. He's all alone. And you're not. So who do you think is going to win? Out in the hallway, the argument was escalating. Security had arrived. Someone was threatening to call the police. Patterson's voice was getting shriller, more desperate. This is illegal. I have rights. You can't keep me from my own nephew. Watch me, Dom said. There was a scuffle, footsteps, someone shouting, Don't touch me! And then Patterson appeared in the doorway, breathing hard, his face red. 2 security guards had him by the arms, but he was staring straight at Ethan. There you are, Patterson said, and his smile was all wrong. I've been so worried about you, Ethan, ever since I heard about the accident. It wasn't an accident. Ethan's voice came out stronger than he expected. You tried to kidnap Lily. You stabbed me. I remember everything. Patterson's smile didn't waver. You're confused, son. You've been through a trauma. Sometimes our memories play tricks on us. My memory's fine. You're lying. Ethan, I understand you're scared, but I'm here to help you. I'm your Uncle Richard, your mother's brother. I've been looking for you for months, ever since I heard about Sarah's passing. The use of his mother's name felt like a violation. Like Patterson had reached into Ethan's chest and squeezed his heart. My mother never mentioned you? Not once, we were estranged, family drama, you understand. But blood is blood, and now that Sarah's gone, it's my responsibility to take care of you, to give you a real home, a real family. He has a real family, Lily interrupted, her voice cutting. Us, and you're not part of it. Patterson's eyes slid to Lily, and for just a second the mask slipped. Ethan saw what was underneath: cold calculation, barely controlled rage, and something else. Something hungry. You must be Lily, Patterson said softly. I'm glad you're safe, sweetheart. That must have been so scary for you, what happened in that parking lot. Don't talk to my daughter. Dom was in the doorway now, filling it. Don't look at her. Don't breathe in her direction. You're trying to manipulate a traumatized child to support your custody claim. I see you, Patterson. I know exactly what you are. And what's that? Patterson's voice had gone soft, dangerous. What am I, Mr. Reyes? A predator, a liar, and a man who's about to find out what happens when you threaten the Thunder Saints. The security guards were pulling Patterson backward now, but he kept his eyes on Ethan. I'll see you at the hearing, nephew. We have a lot of catching up to do. Then he was gone, dragged out of view, still talking, still making threats, disguised as concern. Dom came back into the room, his face pale, his hands shaking with barely suppressed rage. That man is never getting custody, he said. I'll burn down the world before I let that happen. Marcus appeared behind him. Tommy's on his way. He's bringing his investigator. We're going to tear Patterson's story apart piece by piece. What if the story's true? Ethan's voice was so quiet they almost didn't hear him. What if he really is my uncle? Then he's an uncle who abandoned you for 7 years and only showed up when you became useful to him, Marcus said bluntly, which still makes him garbage. But legally, we're going to prove he's unfit. The restraining orders, the investigations, the attempted kidnapping, we're going to bury him in his own history. What if it's not enough? The question hung in the air unanswered because no one wanted to say what they were all thinking. Sometimes the system failed. Sometimes the bad guys won. Sometimes kids got placed with biological family members who hurt them because the law valued blood over safety. Lily crawled fully onto the bed, pressed herself against Ethan's side. It will be enough, she said firmly. because it has to be. But Ethan had lived too long on the streets to believe in has to be. He knew the world didn't work that way. He knew that wanting something, even wanting it, desperately didn't make it true. That night after visiting, hours ended, and Dom had been forced to leave after Lily had been carried out crying because she didn't want to go after. The hospital had gone quiet except for the beeping machines and distant footsteps. Ethan lay awake staring at the ceiling. His arm throbbed, his head hurt, and underneath it all was a deeper pain, the kind that didn't have a physical source. Hope hurt more than the knife wound. Hope was dangerous because hope meant you could lose something. And Ethan had already lost everything once. He wasn't sure he could survive losing it again. The door opened quietly. Ethan tensed, expecting a nurse, but the figure that slipped inside was smaller, younger. Lily, how did you... Shh. She put a finger to her lips, grinning. Daddy's asleep in the waiting room. I told him I had to use the bathroom. You're going to get in trouble. Worth it. She climbed back into the chair next to his bed, pulled her knees up to her chest. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that man and his creepy smile. Me too. Ethan, her voice got smaller. What if the judge says you have to go with him? Then I'll run away. Where would you go? I don't know. Anywhere. I've survived on the streets before. I can do it again. But you wouldn't have to survive. You could just live with us. Lily's eyes were bright with tears. Why would you choose to be alone when you could be with people who want you? Because people who want you can change their minds. People who want you can leave. My daddy won't. When he makes a promise, he keeps it. Always. Even when it's hard. How do you know? Because when Mommy died, he promised her he'd take care of me no matter what. And even though he was so sad he could barely breathe, even though everything was terrible and scary, he kept that promise. Every single day. Lila wiped her eyes. And now he's promising to keep you safe, which means he will. No matter what. Ethan wanted to believe her, wanted it so badly his chest ached. What if the promise isn't his to keep? What if the judge doesn't care what Dom wants? Then we'll make the judge care. We'll show them that you belong with us. We'll prove that family isn't about DNA or blood tests or whose name is on some stupid paper. It's about who shows up, who fights for you, who sees you when you're invisible to everyone else. You really believe that? I know it. Because you showed up for me, Ethan. When that bad man tried to take me, you didn't run away. You didn't hide. You showed up and you fought for me, and you almost died for me. Her voice broke. So now it's my turn. It's our turn. Me and Daddy and the whole Thunder Saints family. We're going to show up for you. The door burst open. Dom stood there wild-eyed, and when he saw Lily, his shoulders sagged with relief. Lily Marie Reyes, you are in so much trouble. I know, Daddy. I'm sorry. I just needed to tell Ethan something. It couldn't wait until morning. No. Lily looked at her father, then at Ethan. Some things can't wait. Some things need to be said right now before it's too late. Dom's expression softened. He walked over, picked Lily up, but didn't carry her toward the door. Instead, he sat down in the chair, settled her on his lap, and looked at Ethan. She's right, you know. Some things can't wait. He took a deep breath. Ethan, I need you to understand something. 3 days from now, we're going into that courtroom, and we're fighting for you. Not because we feel guilty, not because we owe you, but because we want you. Because Lily's right family is about showing up, and we're showing up. But what if? No what ifs. I'm asking you to trust me. I know that's a lot to ask from a kid who's had every reason not to trust adults, but I'm asking anyway. Can you do that? Can you trust me for 3 days? Ethan looked at Dom's face, weathered and honest, looked at Lily's face, fierce and certain, and he made a choice. Okay, he whispered. 3 days. 3 days, Dom repeated. And then you're coming home with us, and this nightmare is over. He said it like it was a fact, like there was no other possible outcome. And for the first time since Patterson had appeared in that hospital room, Ethan felt something other than fear. He felt possibility. But what none of them knew, what they couldn't have known, was that Patterson wasn't working alone. That even as they sat there making promises and plans, someone else was making moves of their own. Someone who had everything to gain from Ethan's suffering. And someone who was about to make their next play. The lawyer arrived at 6 a.m., which Dom said was either a very good sign or a very bad one. Tommy Zhao was nothing like Ethan expected. No expensive suit, no briefcase, no slicked back hair. He showed up in jeans and a Thunder Saints support shirt, carrying a battered backpack and 2 cups of coffee. You must be the kid who's causing all this trouble, Tommy said, setting one coffee on Ethan's bedside table. Black, 2 sugars. Dom said you're tougher than you look, so I figured you could handle real coffee. Ethan stared at the cup. I'm 7. And you took a knife for a stranger. Age is just a number, kid. Tommy pulled up a chair, flipped open a laptop that looked like it had survived a war. Now we've got 72 hours to build a case that'll make Patterson look like the scum he is. You up for some questions? I guess. Wrong answer. Try again. Ethan blinked. What? I asked if you're up for some questions. You said, I guess. That's the answer of someone who's already given up. So I'm asking again, are you up for this fight? Something in Tommy's tone made Ethan sit straighter despite the pain in his arm. Yes, he said. Yes, I'm up for it. Better. Now here's how this works. I'm going to ask you things that are going to hurt. Not physically, emotionally. Things about your mom, your life on the streets, what happened with Patterson. And you're going to answer honestly even when it's hard because lies always come out in court and they always make things worse. Understand? I understand. Good. Let's start with your mother. How did she die? The question hit like a punch. Ethan's throat closed up. She overdose. Heroin. I was there. How long were you there before someone found you? 3 days. Tommy's expression didn't change, but he typed faster. What did you do for those 3 days? I tried to wake her up. I called 911, but they wanted an address and I didn't know how to explain where we were. So I just waited. I thought she might wake up. She'd overdosed before and woken up. But not this time. Not this time. Who found you? Landlord. He came to evict us, saw my mom and called the cops. And what happened to you? They took me to the hospital, then to a foster home. I ran away after 2 days. Why? Ethan's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the hospital blanket. Because the foster dad looked at me the same way Patterson looks at Lily. Because I knew what was coming, and I knew nobody would believe me if I told. So I ran. Tommy stopped typing, looked up. His eyes were hard but not unkind. Did he touch you? No, I ran before he could. Smart kid. How long have you been on the streets? Almost 2 years. Jesus. Tommy ran a hand through his hair. Okay, Patterson claims he's been searching for you since your mother died. Claims he only just found out where you were. You ever see him before the diner? Never. Your mom ever mention a brother named Richard? No, she talked about her childhood sometimes when she was high. Said her parents kicked her out when she was 16. Said she had a sister who died young. Never mentioned a brother. Sister who died young, Tommy repeated, typing. Do you remember her name? No, sorry. Don't apologize, you're doing great. Tommy pulled up something on his laptop, turned it so Ethan could see. This is Patterson's birth certificate. Says he was born in Cleveland, Ohio, 1978. Mother's name Elizabeth Patterson. Father's name unknown. That's not my mom's last name. She was Sarah Chen. Exactly. Which means if Patterson is related to you, it's not through a direct sibling relationship. He'd have to be a half-brother. Different fathers, same mother. Which means Elizabeth Patterson would have to be my grandmother. Bingo. And here's where it gets interesting. Tommy pulled up another document. Elizabeth Patterson died in 1995. Your mom would have been about 11 years old. But here's the thing, Elizabeth's death certificate lists only one child, Richard. No mention of a daughter named Sarah. So he's lying. Maybe. Or maybe your mom was adopted, or maybe there's some other family drama we don't know about yet. But it gives us an angle. Patterson's claiming biological connection, but he can't prove it. And even if he could, we've got Tommy's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, frowned, answered. Marcus, what have you got? A pause. You're kidding. When? Another pause. Tommy's face went dark. That son of a, yeah, I'll handle it. Keep digging. He hung up, looked at Ethan. Patterson just posted bail. The coffee in Ethan's stomach turned to ice. What? Someone paid his bail, $25,000 cash. He's out pending trial for the attempted kidnapping. But he tried to kill me. Attempted kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, child endangerment, those are the charges. But the judge set bail anyway because Patterson's got no prior convictions. Clean record, upstanding, citizen, blah, blah, blah. Tommy was typing furiously. Whoever paid that bail wanted him out. The question is why? The door opened. Dom walked in, his face like thunder. You heard. Marcus just called, who bailed him out. That's the thing. It was paid through a lawyer. Attorney-client privilege means they don't have to disclose who actually put up the money. But you're going to find out. Already on it, Marcus has people checking every connection Patterson's got, every friend, every associate, every person who wants custody of a 7-year-old bad enough to spring a kidnapper from jail. Tommy finished. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. This isn't random. Someone's helping him. Who would do that? Ethan asked. His voice sounded far away. Someone who benefits if Patterson gets custody of you. Dom's jaw was clenched so tight it looked painful. Someone who wants you under Patterson's control. But why I don't have anything? I'm nobody. You're not nobody. Dom crouched down next to the bed. And maybe that's exactly the problem. Maybe someone doesn't want you to become somebody. Tommy's laptop chimed. He opened an email, read it, and his expression changed. Well, this just got a whole lot more complicated. What? My investigator just sent me this. It's a property record from Cleveland, dated 1994, owned by Elizabeth Patterson. He turned the laptop around, sold to a Richard Patterson and a... He stopped. And a who? Dom demanded. A Julia Simmons. The name meant nothing to Ethan, but Dom's face went pale. No way. You know her. Julia Simmons runs the biggest foster care agency in 3 counties. She's the one who places kids, who does home studies, who makes recommendations to the court. Dom's voice was shaking. If she's connected to Patterson, then she can make sure Patterson's home study comes back glowing while making yours look like a disaster. Tommy was already dialing, and she'd have the means to post bail. Foster agencies handle huge amounts of money. This is a setup, Dom said. The whole thing. Patterson didn't just randomly try to grab Lily. He knew who she was. He knew her connection to me. And he knew Ethan would try to save her, Tommy added, which would create the perfect opportunity for him to claim family rights while making himself look like the victim. Ethan's head was spinning. I don't understand. Why would someone plan all this just to get custody of me? Because foster kids are money, Tommy said bluntly. State payments, federal subsidies, housing allowances. A single foster kid can bring in over $1,000 a month. Multiply that by multiple kids, run a foster home that looks good on paper but treats the children like garbage pocket. The difference, it's a lucrative business if you're a sociopath. But the system checks. The system is run by people like Julia Simmons. People who can make inconvenient reports disappear, who can coach foster parents on exactly what to say, who can ensure that nobody looks too closely. Tommy's expression was grim. If Simmons is helping Patterson, she's not doing it out of the goodness of her heart. She's doing it because she gets something out of it. A cut of the foster payments, Dom said, and a kid who's already traumatized, already learned not to trust authorities, already knows how to be invisible. The perfect victim. The weight of it settled over Ethan like a blanket made of lead. He'd thought Patterson was the threat. He'd thought it was just one man. But this was bigger. This was a system, a network, people with power working together to... I want to testify, Ethan said suddenly. They both turned to look at him. At the hearing, I want to tell the judge what happened. I want to tell them about Patterson, about why I ran from foster care before, about everything. Ethan, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because if he just let you fight for me without fighting for myself, then I'm still letting other people decide my life. I'm still invisible. His voice was getting stronger. You said family is about showing up. Well, I'm showing up. I'm testifying. Tommy and Dom exchanged a look. Kid's got a point, Tommy said. And honestly, your testimony might be our strongest weapon. Let the judge see you here. You understand what's at stake. It's going to be brutal, Dom warned. Patterson's lawyer will try to rip you apart. They'll ask about your mom, your life on the streets, try to make you look unstable or unreliable. Let them try. Ethan met Dom's eyes. I lived through 2 years on the streets. I took a knife to save Lily. I can handle some lawyer asking mean questions. Dom smiled, and it was fierce and proud. Yeah, you can. Okay then. Tommy closed his laptop. We've got our strategy. Now we just need to... His phone rang again. This time when he answered, his whole body went tense. When how bad is he? Okay. Okay, we're on our way. What happened? Dom was already standing. That was the hospital security desk. Someone just tried to access Ethan's medical records from an outside computer. The firewall caught it, but the attempt was sophisticated. Professional. Simmons. Probably. She'd want to know Ethan's condition, his prognosis, whether he is credible. And if she's willing to hack medical records, she's willing to do a lot worse. Dom was pulling out his phone. I'm calling in the club. We're putting a guard on this room 24/7. I appreciate the gesture, but not a gesture, a necessity. If Patterson and Simmons are working together and if they're desperate enough to hack hospital records, they might try something more direct. You think they'd try to take Ethan from the hospital? I think they've already proven they're willing to stab a 7-year-old. So yeah, I think they'd try anything. Within an hour, there were 3 Thunder Saints members stationed outside Ethan's room. One at the door, one at the elevator, one in the parking lot watching the exits. They rotated shifts, traded off, but there was always someone there. Ethan watched them through the window in his door. These massive, tattooed, leather-clad bikers who'd given up their time, their sleep, their lives to protect a kid they'd never met. Why are they doing this? He asked Dom during one of the afternoon visits. Because you're one of us now, and we protect our own. But I haven't done anything for them. You saved Lily. That's everything. Dom pulled up a chair. Let me tell you something about the Thunder Saints. We're not just a motorcycle club. We're a family made up of people who've been failed by their biological families. Marcus over there. His parents kicked him out when he was 16 for being gay. Spider, the guy at the elevator, grew up in 9 different foster homes. Tiny, the one in the parking lot, ran away from an abusive household when he was 14. They all survived, Ethan said quietly. They all survived, and now they make sure others survive too. We do toy runs for kids at Christmas. We raise money for domestic violence shelters. We show up at funerals for veterans who have no family. We protect people who need protecting. Dom's hand found Ethan's shoulder. That's who we are. That's what we do. And you, kid, you embody everything we believe in. You protected someone who needed it. You stood up when it mattered. You're already more Thunder Saints than some people who've worn the patch for years. I just did what anyone would do. No, most people run. Most people look away. Most people decide it's not their problem. Dom's voice was intense. You ran toward danger. You put yourself between a knife and a little girl. That's not what anyone would do. That's what a hero does. Ethan didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a scared kid with a torn-up arm who was in way over his head. But he didn't say that. Instead, he asked, what happens if we lose at the hearing? Dom was quiet for a long moment. We won't. But if we do, then we appeal. And if we lose the appeal, we appeal again. And if we run out of appeals, we figure out another bound. Because I meant what I said, Ethan. You are not going to Patterson. Not while I'm alive to prevent it. You can't fight the law forever. Watch me. There was something in Dom's voice that made Ethan believe him, something absolute and unbreakable. That night after Dom and Lily had gone home and the hospital had settled into its late-night quiet, Ethan lay awake thinking about everything Tommy had told him, about Patterson and Simmons, about the system that was supposed to protect kids but sometimes fed them to predators instead. He thought about the other kids, the ones who didn't have a Doom or a Lily, or 200 bikers willing to fight for them. The ones who got lost in the system, who ended up with people like Patterson, who learned to be small and quiet and invisible because it was the only way to survive. The door opened. Ethan tensed, but it was just Marcus doing his rounds. Can't sleep, huh? Too much thinking. Yeah, I know that feeling. Marcus came in, closed the door behind him. Mind if I sit for a minute? It's your shift. Technically, I'm supposed to stay outside, but I figure a 7-year-old kid who took a knife for my president's daughter has earned some rule breaking. Marcus lowered himself into the chair with a groan. Getting old sucks, kid. Remember that. I'll try. They sat in silence for a while. Then Marcus said, Dom tell you about the club? Some. He tell you why I joined? Said your parents kicked you out. Yeah, 16 years old, came out as gay. My dad said he didn't have a son anymore. Threw me out with nothing but the clothes on my back. Marcus stared at his hands. I lived on the streets for 8 months. Did things I'm not proud of to survive. Met some bad people, made some bad choices. Was about ready to give up when this guy on a motorcycle pulled over, asked if I was hungry. Dom. Nah, this was before Dom's time. Guy named Steele, old president. Anyway, he bought me a burger, listened to my story and said, you got nowhere else to go. You can come with me. Just like that. No questions, no judgment. Took me to the clubhouse, got me a bunk, gave me a place to sleep. Saved my life. What happened to him? Cancer got him about 5 years back. But before he died, he made me promise something. He said, Marcus, you keep doing what I did. You find the kids who got nowhere to go, and you give them somewhere. You be their family when their family fails them. And I have. We all have. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand something. What Dom's doing for you isn't charity. It's not pity. It's continuing a legacy of people who got second chance and making sure the next generation gets them too. Marcus leaned forward. You're scared the hearing won't go your way. That smart fear keeps you sharp. But I need you to know that even if the court makes the wrong decision, you're not alone in this fight. You've got 200 people across this country who will move heaven and earth to keep you safe. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you're brave. I know you're loyal. I know you'd die for someone you care about. That's all I need to know. Ethan felt tears building, but fought them back. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I mess up on the stand? Then you mess up. We'll deal with it. But I don't think you will. You know why, Marcus smiled. Because you've already survived the hardest thing. Everything else is just details. The next 2 days passed in a blur. Tommy came and went, prepping Ethan for testimony, running through questions, teaching him how to answer clearly and confidently. Dom brought Lily for visits, and she drew pictures that covered every surface of Ethan's room, butterflies and motorcycles and families holding hands. The Thunder Saints kept their vigil. New faces every few hours, but always someone there, always someone watching. On the morning of this hearing, they discharged Ethan from the hospital. His arm was in a sling, the stitches hidden under bandages, but the doctor said he was healthy enough to attend court. Dom brought clothes, real clothes, new clothes, jeans that fit a button-down shirt, shoes that didn't have holes. Ethan stared at them like they were alien artifacts. I can't afford gifts, Dom interrupted. From Lily. She picked everything out herself. Said you needed to look respectable for the judge. Ethan changed in the hospital bathroom, barely recognizing himself in the mirror. The boy staring back at him looked clean, cared for, like he belonged somewhere, like he was somebody's son. You ready? Dom asked when Ethan emerged. No. Good. Fear is good. Fear means you care about the outcome. Just don't let it make you small. You stand tall in there, you tell the truth, and you let the judge see who you really are. They walked out of the hospital together and Ethan stopped dead. The parking lot was full of motorcycles. Not 3 or 5 or 10, dozens, maybe 100. Bikes gleaming in the morning sun, riders standing next to them in full leather Thunder Saints patches, visible on every vest. What? Ethan couldn't finish the question. Word got out, Marcus said, appearing at Dom's shoulder. About the hearing, about you. Brothers started calling, asking if they should come. I said it was up to them. This is what they decided. Ethan counted as many as he could see, 60, 70, 80 bikes, and more pulling in one after another, engines rumbling like thunder. They're here for you, kid, Marcus said. Every single one of them. They're here to show the court that you're not some homeless kid nobody wants. You are Thunder Saints family, and we don't abandon family. A woman on a cherry red bike waved at Ethan. A man with a gray beard gave him a thumbs up. A younger guy with more tattoos than visible skin grinned and called out, "Looking sharp, little brother." And Ethan realized they weren't just here for him. They were here with him, standing witness, making a statement that couldn't be ignored. Thank you, he whispered, but the words felt too small for what he was feeling. Don't thank us yet, Marcus said. Save him it for after we win. The courthouse was only 10 minutes away, but the ride there took longer because the motorcycles moved as a pack, 80-some bikes rolling through Riverside in formation, impossible to miss, impossible to ignore. People stopped on sidewalks to stare. Cars pulled over. Someone started filming. By the time they reached the courthouse, there had to be 150 bikes, maybe more. Ethan had lost count. They parked in formation, shut off their engines in synchronized silence, and stood at attention, waiting. Dom helped Ethan off the bike he'd been riding on, and together they walked toward the courthouse steps. Tommy was waiting at the top, briefcase in hand, expression grim. Patterson's already inside. He's got Julia Simmons with him, and she brought 3 character witnesses. We're going to have to fight hard. We will, Dom said. They were almost at the door when someone called out, Ethan. He turned. Lily was running toward him, her little legs pumping, her face flushed. Dom had said she couldn't come to the hearing, too young, too traumatic. But here she was, breaking free from whoever had been holding her back. She crashed into him, arms around his waist, face pressed against his chest. You've got this, she whispered. You're the bravest person I know. You're going to go in there and you're going to tell them the truth and they're going to see what I see, what Daddy sees, what everyone sees. What's that? That you're my brother, not on paper, not yet, but in here. She tapped his chest right over his heart. And nothing Patterson says can change that. Then someone was pulling her back, one of the Thunder Saints members assigned to watch her. But her words stayed with Ethan warm and solid as he climbed the courthouse steps. Inside the hallway was cold and echoing. Patterson was there standing with a thin woman in an expensive suit who had to be Julia Simmons. When he saw Ethan, he smiled that wrong smile again. "Good morning, nephew. Ready for our big day?" Ethan didn't answer, just walked past head high toward the courtroom. But as he reached for the door, he heard Simmons say something to Patterson in a low voice. "Remember, stick to the script. The judge is sympathetic to family reunification. We've already planted the seeds. Just stay calm and let me do the talking." And the boy is irrelevant. 7-year-olds aren't credible witnesses, especially not homeless ones with trauma histories. Patterson chuckled. "This is going to be easier than I thought." Ethan's blood ran cold. They'd already won. Before the hearing even started, before Ethan said a single word, they'd already decided the outcome. The system wasn't broken. The system was working exactly as designed for people like Patterson and Simmons who knew how to manipulate it. And Ethan was walking into a trap. Dom's hand landed on Ethan's shoulder, stopping him before he could push through the courtroom doors. "You heard that," Dom said. "It wasn't a question. They've already fixed it. The judge is on their side." "Maybe, maybe not." Tommy appeared beside them, his expression hard. "Judges are human. They can be swayed. And what Simmons doesn't know is that we've got our own surprise." "What surprise?" "You'll see. Just trust me." Tommy straightened his tie. "And Ethan, when you get on that stand, I need you to forget everything you just heard. Don't let them see your fear. Don't let them see you doubt. You tell your truth and you let them see your strength. Can you do that?" Ethan's arm throbbed under power of the sling. His mouth was dry, but he nodded. "Good. Let's go show them what they're up against." The courtroom was smaller than Ethan expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches that were mostly empty except for a few court officials, and Ethan's breath caught at least 20 Thunder Saints members packed into the back rows, their leather vests a wall of solidarity. Judge Morrison sat behind the bench, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and glasses that made her eyes look enormous. She glanced up as they entered, and her gaze swept over Ethan with an expression he couldn't read. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Morrison," the bailiff called, even though everyone was already standing. "Be seated," the judge said. Her voice was crisp, no nonsense. "We're here for the emergency custody hearing regarding Ethan Michael Chen, age 7. Let's keep this efficient, people. Opening statements, Mr. Blackwell." Patterson's lawyer stood. He was exactly what Ethan expected. Expensive suit, perfect hair, smile that probably cost as much as a used car. "Your Honor, this is a simple case of biological family seeking to care for a child who has tragically lost his mother. Mr. Patterson is Ethan's maternal uncle, his closest living relative, and a man who has spent the last 2 years desperately searching for his nephew after losing contact with his sister. He has a stable home, a clean record, and the legal right to custody under state family reunification laws." "Mr. Zhao," the judge turned to Tommy. "Your Honor, this is a case of a predator using the system to access a vulnerable child. Mr. Patterson has no documented relationship with Ethan's mother, no proof of biological connection, and a history of concerning behavior toward minors that the court needs to hear. We're asking that custody be granted to Dominic Reyes, a man who has demonstrated actual care and commitment to Ethan's well-being. The court will hear evidence from both sides. Mr. Blackwell, call your first witness." The defense calls Richard Patterson. Patterson took the stand with the confidence of someone who believed he'd already won. He placed his hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth, and settled into the witness chair. Like he was sitting down for a job interview, he knew he'd ace. "Mr. Patterson, can you explain your relationship to Ethan Chen?" "He's my nephew, my sister Sarah's boy. Sarah and I had a difficult relationship. Our childhood was complicated, and we lost touch for many years. But when I learned of her death, I immediately began searching for Ethan. I wanted to give him, the family, the stability, the love he deserves." Ethan's hands clenched into fists. Every word was a lie wrapped in sincerity. "And when did you locate Ethan?" 2 weeks ago. I'd been checking shelters, schools, hospitals. When I heard about a homeless boy matching his description in Riverside, I came immediately. I just wanted to see him to make sure he was safe. And what happened when you tried to make contact? I encountered Mr. Reyes and his daughter in a parking lot. I attempted to speak with Ethan to introduce myself, but Mr. Reyes became aggressive. There was an altercation, and in the chaos, Ethan was injured. It was a terrible accident, and I've been sick with worry ever since. An accident, Tommy muttered under his breath. He's really going with accident. Mr. Patterson, do you have documentation supporting your claim of biological relationship to Ethan? I do. Patterson produced a folder. Birth records showing my mother, Elizabeth Patterson, gave birth to both myself and Sarah. We share a mother, different fathers. Sarah took her father's surname Chen when she was young, which is why the connection isn't immediately obvious. The judge took the documents, examined them. Her expression gave nothing away. These appear to be in order. Mr. Zhao, you'll have a chance to challenge their authenticity later. Mr. Blackwell, continue. Mr. Patterson, can you describe your home environment? I have a 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood, good schools nearby, a yard where a child can play safely. I work as a computer consultant, so my hours are flexible. I can provide everything Ethan needs: structure, education, a stable home life. And you're prepared to take custody immediately? Absolutely. I've already enrolled him in the local elementary school. Found a good pediatrician, arranged for counseling to help him process his trauma. I've been preparing for this moment since I learned Sarah had passed. It was a perfect performance. Caring uncle, thorough preparation, genuine concern. If Ethan didn't know better, he might have believed it himself. Your witness, Mr. Zhao. Tommy stood, and something in his posture changed. The casual jeans and t-shirt guy from the hospital was gone. This was a lawyer who'd won cases everyone said were unwinnable. Mr. Patterson, you said you and Sarah were estranged. When was the last time you saw your sister? It's been many years, 15 perhaps longer. 15 years, and yet you claim you began searching for Ethan 2 years ago when she died. How did you learn of her death if you hadn't spoken to her in 15 years? Patterson hesitated, just for a second, but Ethan saw it. I'd been periodically checking public records, trying to find her. When I saw the death notice, Which newspaper ran the death notice? I don't recall exactly. The Riverside Times, the Cleveland Observer. Which one? I believe it was online, a obituary website. Which one? Your Honor, Blackwell interrupted. Is this relevant? I'm establishing whether Mr. Patterson is telling the truth about how he found Ethan, Tommy said. It goes to credibility. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Mr. Patterson. I don't remember the specific website. It's been 2 years. Convenient. Tommy pulled out his own folder. Your Honor, I'd like to submit into evidence a complete search of all online obituary databases, newspaper archives, and public death notices for Sarah Chen. Not one of them lists a death notice. In fact, Sarah Chen's death wasn't reported in any public forum. The only way someone would know about it is if they were directly contacted by the hospital or the police. Your Honor, this is speculation. I'm not done, Tommy continued. Mr. Patterson claims he's been searching for Ethan for 2 years. If that's true, where's the paper trail? Where are the reports to missing children's organizations, the inquiries to social services, the police reports filed for a missing child? Patterson's jaw was tight. I conducted my search privately. Privately. For 2 years. And you just happened to find Ethan 2 weeks ago in a diner parking lot, coincidentally the same parking lot where Dominic Reyes' daughter was having dinner. It was a coincidence. Was it a coincidence that you had a knife? I carry a pocket knife for work. It's a tool, not a weapon. A tool you used to stab a 7-year-old child. That was an accident. There was a struggle. Mr. Reyes attacked me. Mr. Reyes was protecting his daughter from a man trying to force her into a van, a man who'd been stalking her for weeks. Isn't that right, Mr. Patterson? I never. You were at Lily Reyes' school 3 times in the week before the incident. Security cameras caught you. You were at the park where she plays on 2 separate occasions. You were following her, learning her routine, waiting for the right moment. Your Honor, these are allegations without proof. I have the security footage right here. Tommy held up a USB drive, time-stamped, date-stamped, showing Mr. Patterson watching a 6-year-old girl. Is that the behavior of an uncle looking for his nephew, or a predator stalking his prey? The courtroom erupted. Blackwell was shouting objections, the judge was banging her gavel, and Patterson's face had gone from confident to cornered. Order, I will have order! Judge Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. Mr. Zhao, you will submit that evidence properly. Mr. Blackwell, control your client. We will take a 15-minute recess while I review these materials. The judge disappeared into her chambers, taking the USB drive with her. The moment she was gone, Simmons leaned over to whisper urgently to Patterson and Blackwell, her face pale. You didn't tell me about security cameras, she hissed. They can't prove anything, Patterson said, but he was sweating. They can prove you're a liar, Simmons snapped, which means everything else you've said is suspect, which means… She stopped talking as Dom walked past their table. He didn't say anything, didn't even look at them, just moved toward the back of the courtroom where the Thunder Saints were gathered. But the message was clear. We're not backing down. The 15 minutes felt like hours. Ethan sat at the defense table, his good hand gripping the edge so hard his knuckles went white. Tommy was making notes, flipping through papers, occasionally muttering to himself. Is it enough? Ethan whispered. The footage. It's something. It proves Patterson lied about the coincidence, proves he was stalking Lily. But it doesn't disprove the biological connection, and that's what the law cares about most. So we're still losing. We're still fighting. Tommy looked at him. And we've got more ammunition. Trust me. When Judge Morrison returned, her expression was grim. I've reviewed the security footage. Mr. Patterson, I'm deeply troubled by what I've seen. However, this hearing is about custody, not criminal conduct. The criminal charges will be addressed in a separate trial. For the purposes of this hearing, I need to focus on what's in the best interest of the child. Your Honor, Tommy stood. If I may call my next witness, proceed. The defense calls Ethan Chen. Ethan's heart stopped. They discussed this, prepared for it, but now that the moment was here, his legs felt like water. Dom's hand found his shoulder. You've got this, kid. Just tell the truth. The walk to the witness stand was the longest of Ethan's life. Every eye in the courtroom was on him. The judge, the lawyers, Patterson with his fake concern, the Thunder Saints radiating support from the back. The bailiff held out the Bible. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth? The whole truth and nothing but the truth. I do. Ethan's voice came out smaller than he wanted, but it didn't shake. Please state your name for the record. Ethan Michael Chen. How old are you, Ethan? 7. Tommy approached, his expression gentle. Ethan, I know this is scary, but I'm just going to ask you some questions, and I want you to answer as honestly as you can. Okay. Do you know the man sitting at that table, Richard Patterson? Ethan looked at Patterson, who was trying to look kind and concerned. It made Ethan's skin crawl. I've seen him before. Where did you see him? Behind the diner, and then at the hospital, but I never saw him before the day he tried to take Lily. Did your mother ever mention having a brother? No, she talked about her sister sometimes when she was high. She said her sister died when they were kids. She never mentioned a brother. Ethan, can you tell the court what happened at the diner? Ethan took a breath. This was it, his chance to tell his truth. I was counting bottle caps behind Mulligan's diner. That's where I stayed sometimes. Lily came around and started talking to me. She was nice. She didn't care that I was dirty or homeless. We counted caps together, and then her dad came out and he bought me food. And then a van pulled up, a white van. The man driving it, Ethan pointed at Patterson. He got out and started talking to Mr. Dom. He said he was looking for his nephew, but he was looking at me weird. And then Lily came out and she screamed. She said, that's the man from school. What happened next? He tried to grab her. Dom fought him, but he had a knife. He was trying to get to Lily, so I got in the way. You got in the way of a knife. I couldn't let him take her. She was nice to me. Ethan, when the knife cut you, what were you thinking? I was thinking I had to make sure Lily got away, that she got back to her dad, that she was safe. Even though it meant you might… Even though… The courtroom was silent. Even Patterson had stopped trying to look sympathetic. Ethan, Mr. Patterson claims he's your uncle. Do you believe that? No. Why not? Because if he was really my uncle, if he really cared about me, he wouldn't have waited 2 years to find me. He wouldn't have stalked Lily to get to me. He wouldn't have stabbed me when I got in his way. Ethan's voice was getting stronger. Real family doesn't do that. Real family doesn't hurt you. Real family shows up. And who showed up for you, Ethan? Dom, Lily, the Thunder Saints. They showed up. No further questions, Your Honor. Blackwell stood for cross-examination and his friendly demeanor was gone. Now he looked like a shark who'd smelled blood. Ethan, you have been living on the streets for almost 2 years, is that correct? Yes. And during that time, you've had to steal to survive, haven't you? Tommy shot to his feet. Objection, relevance. Goes to credibility. Your Honor. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Ethan. Ethan's face burned with shame. Sometimes food from dumpsters, sometimes other things. So you're admitting you're a thief. I was trying to survive. And you ran away from a foster home. Why was that? The foster father, he looked at me wrong. He made me uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. So based on a feeling, you ran away from a safe home and chose to live on the streets instead. It wasn't safe. I knew what was coming. But you didn't give anyone a chance to protect you. You just ran, just like you're running now by making up stories about my client. I'm not making up anything. Aren't you? You're a homeless child with a history of lying to survive, who's been offered a comfortable home by a biological relative, but instead you're choosing a stranger who bought you one meal. Blackwell's voice dripped with condescension. Isn't it possible, Ethan, that you've become attached to the Reyes family because they showed you temporary kindness, and now you're willing to say anything to stay with them? No. Isn't it possible your memory of that night is confused? That you want Mr. Patterson to be the villain because it's easier than accepting that you'll be going home with family who actually has a legal right to you? He's not my family. Ethan was shaking now. My family is dead, but Dom and Lily, they want to be my family. They choose me. That's worth more than biology. Your Honor, the witness is becoming emotional. I'm emotional because you're trying to make me sound crazy. I know what I saw. I know what happened, and I know that man, Ethan pointed at Patterson again, is lying about everything. Ethan, Judge Morrison's voice was firm but not unkind. I need you to calm down. I am calm. I'm just telling the truth. Isn't that what I swore to do? The judge's expression softened almost imperceptibly. Yes, it is. Mr. Blackwell, move on. No further questions. Ethan stumbled back to the defense table, his heart hammering. Tommy gripped his shoulder. You did good, kid. You did real good. But Ethan wasn't sure. He'd lost his temper, shown his emotion, done exactly what Blackwell wanted. Your Honor, Tommy said. The defense calls Dominic Reyes. Dom took the stand with the same calm authority he brought to everything. He stated his name, his occupation president of the Thunder Saints, MC, and his relationship to Ethan. I met Ethan the day he saved my daughter's life. Can you describe that day? Dom recounted the whole story, finding Lily talking to a homeless boy behind the diner, buying Ethan food, the arrival of Patterson's van, the attack, Ethan's sacrifice. When I saw that boy throw himself between a knife and my little girl, I knew everything I needed to know about his character. He's 7 years old and he's got more courage and heart than most adults I've met. Why are you seeking custody? Because Ethan needs a family and we need him. Not out of obligation, out of genuine love. My daughter talks about him constantly, asks when he's coming home, draws him pictures. To her, he's already her brother. And to me, he's already my son. Maybe not on paper yet, but in every way that matters. Mr. Reyes, you run a motorcycle club. Some might say that's not an appropriate environment for a child. Some might say a lot of things without knowing what they're talking about. Dom's voice was steady. The Thunder Saints is a family. We do charity work. We support each other. We teach values like loyalty, courage, and standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. Ethan already embodies those values. He'd fit right in. What kind of home can you provide? A safe one, a loving one. I've got a 4-bedroom house with a piano. Lily's enrolled in a good school where Ethan could attend. I work steady hours, I've got health insurance, and I've got a support system. 70+ club members locally who'd step up if we ever needed help. Plus, I've been a single father for 3 years since my wife passed. I know how to raise a child, I know how to be there. Your Honor, I'd like to submit character references for Mr. Reyes. Tommy handed over a thick folder. Letters from teachers at Lily's school, from local business owners, from veterans organizations we've worked with. 37 letters all attesting to Dominic Reyes's character and fitness as a parent. Blackwell was on his feet immediately. Your Honor, I have similar documentation for Mr. Patterson. From Julia Simmons's foster care agency, Tommy interrupted, because we've done some digging on Ms. Simmons. Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence that Julia Simmons and Richard Patterson co-owned property in 1994, that they've had a financial relationship for over 20 years, and that Ms. Simmons has been under investigation by the State Foster Care Oversight Board for fraudulent placement practices. The courtroom exploded again. That's slander, Simmons was on her feet, her face red. It's documented fact, Tommy shot back. The investigation is public record. Mr. Zhao, the judge's voice cut through the noise. Do you have this documentation? Right here, Your Honor. Approach. Tommy brought the papers to the judge. She read them, her expression darkening with each page. Ms. Simmons, the judge said slowly, is it true that you co-owned a property with Mr. Patterson? That was decades ago. It's not relevant to... It's highly relevant if you're using your position to funnel children to someone with whom you have a financial relationship. The judge looked at Blackwell. Did you know about this? Your Honor, I was hired to represent Mr. Patterson's custody claim. I wasn't made aware of. You weren't aware that your client's primary character witness has a documented conflict of interest. Judge Morrison removed her glasses, rubbed her eyes. This entire proceeding is compromised. Your Honor, please. Patterson stood up. Julie and I are old friends. Yes, but that doesn't mean... Sit down, Mr. Patterson. The judge's voice was ice. I'm not done reviewing evidence. She returned to the papers, reading carefully. The courtroom held its collective breath. Finally, she looked up. I'm going to ask you a direct question. Mr. Patterson and I expect a direct answer. Did you and Miss Simmons plan to place Ethan in your custody so that you could claim foster care payments while Miss Simmons skimmed a percentage? What, no, Your Honor, this is? Because these documents suggest exactly that. Ms. Simmons has been flagged for placing multiple children with guardians who then report the children as runaways within weeks of placement. Children who disappear into the system and are never heard from again. And you, Mr. Patterson, have 3 restraining orders from 3 different women, all citing your inappropriate interest in their children. Those were misunderstandings. 3 misunderstandings. The judge's voice was rising. You expect this court to believe that 3 separate women independently misunderstood your intentions. People are jealous. They make false accusations. I've read the police reports, Mr. Patterson. I've seen the pattern. And combined with your behavior toward Lily Reyes, toward Ethan, toward the documented evidence of your relationship with a corrupt social worker. She stopped, took a breath. I'm denying your petition for custody. Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for investigation into conspiracy fraud and child endangerment. The courtroom erupted. Patterson was shouting. Simmons was trying to leave. The Thunder Saints were on their feet cheering, and Ethan felt like his heart might explode. Your Honor, Tommy's voice somehow carried over the noise. What about Ethan's placement? Judge Morrison looked at Ethan, really looked at him for the first time. Ethan, do you want to go home with Dominic Reyes? Yes. The word came out choked with tears. Yes, Your Honor. Please. Then that's what's going to happen. I'm granting emergency custody to Dominic Reyes pending a full home study to be conducted by a neutral third party. Mr. Reyes, you will ensure that Ethan has access to counseling, medical care, and educational services. There will be follow-up hearings, but for now, she smiled just slightly, you can take your son home. Your son. The words hit Ethan like a physical force. He turned to Dom, who was already moving toward him, and then he was being lifted up, careful of his injured arm, and Dom was holding him close. We did it, Dom whispered. You're coming home, kid. You're coming home. Lily came flying down the aisle, security guard forgotten, and wrapped herself around both of them. The Thunder Saints were surrounding them, a wall of leather and protection, and people were shouting congratulations, and someone started clapping. Patterson was being escorted out by security still protesting. Simmons was nowhere to be seen, probably already calling her lawyer. But none of that mattered, because Ethan was safe. Ethan was wanted. Ethan was going home. Can we stop and get your bottle caps? Lily asked, her face pressed against Ethan's shoulder. The ones from behind the diner, I want to help you count them again. Yeah, Ethan managed through his tears. Yeah, we can do that. And then we can go home and set up your room. The blue one, remember, with the window that looks at the garden. Exactly. Lily pulled back, grinning through her own tears. You remembered. I remembered everything. Ethan looked at Dom. I remembered that some people show up, that some people fight. That family isn't about blood, it's about choice. Damn right it is, Dom said. His voice was rough with emotion. And we choose you, Ethan. Today, tomorrow, always. You're ours now. Outside the courthouse, the motorcycles were still lined up. More had arrived during the hearing. News had spread, people had come. The parking lot was full of leather and chrome, and when Dom walked out carrying Ethan with Lily holding his hand, the bikers erupted into cheers. Engines roared to life. Someone started honking. A few people were crying. Marcus appeared at Dom's side grinning. Told you we'd win. Never doubted it for a second. Liar. You were terrified. Okay, yeah, I was terrified, but we won anyway. That we did. Marcus ruffled Ethan's hair. Welcome to the family, little brother. Hope you are ready for this. Ready for what? Marcus gestured at the sea of motorcycles. Your ride home. They put Ethan on the back of Dom's bike, secured him carefully, made sure his injured arm was supported. Lily climbed on behind him, her little arms wrapped around his waist. Hold on tight, Dom said. We're about to show this whole town that the Thunder Saints take care of their own. The ride through Riverside was something out of a dream. 150 motorcycles rolling in formation, engines, thundering, people stopping on sidewalks to watch. They rode past the diner where it all started, past the hospital where Ethan had recovered, through downtown where shopkeepers came out to wave. And at every intersection, more bikes joined them. Word had spread the kid won, the kids coming home, and Thunder Saints from neighboring cities were showing up to be part of the celebration. By the time they reached Dom's house, there were over 200 motorcycles in the procession. The house was exactly as Lily had described it. Blue shutters, white fence, a garden in the front yard. Home. It looked like something out of a storybook, something Ethan had never dared to dream he could have. Dom killed the engine, helped Ethan down. The other bikers were parking, dismounting, gathering in the street. Someone had brought a cooler. Someone else had a guitar. Someone was hanging a banner that said, "Welcome home, Ethan," in hand-painted letters. Come on, Lily tugged at his hand. I want to show you your room. She pulled him through the front door, up the stairs, down a hallway, to a door with a new nameplate that said Ethan's room in colorful letters. I made that, Lily said proudly. Last week. Daddy said we had to be positive and think good thoughts, so I made you a sign. She pushed open the door. The room was painted light blue, just like she'd said. There was a bed with a thick comforter, a desk with a lamp, a bookshelf already filled with books. And on the windowsill, carefully arranged, was a collection of bottle caps, red, blue, silver, organized by color. I went back and got them, Lily whispered, after the hearing was scheduled. I thought even if the judge said no, even if you couldn't come home yet, I wanted you to know we were thinking of you. Ethan walked to the window, looked out at the garden, at the street below, where 200 bikers were celebrating his freedom, his survival, his new life. Thank you, he managed. Don't thank me. We're family. This is what family does. Downstairs, someone started music playing. The celebration was spreading from the street into the backyard, into the house. People were laughing, telling stories, making toasts. Dom appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame. You okay, kid? Ethan nodded, not trusting his voice. It's a lot, I know. All these people, all this noise. If you need quiet, if you need space, just say the word. No, Ethan turned from the window. I want to be down there. I want to be part of it. Then let's go. Dom held out his hand. Let's show everyone what they fought for. The party lasted until midnight. Ethan met more people than he could count, at bikers with names like Tiny and Spider, and hammer women who hugged him and cried, kids who shook his hand with serious expressions and said things like, "You're brave, and you're one of us now." He ate more food than he thought possible. He listened to stories about the Thunder Saints, about other kids they had helped, about the family they'd built from broken pieces. And when Lily finally fell asleep on the couch and the last of the guests filtered out, and it was just Dom and Ethan and the quiet house, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. Peace. Time for bed, Dom said gently. Big day tomorrow. We've got to get you enrolled in school, set up a doctor's appointment, all that boring adult stuff. Dom's hon. Yeah, kid. This is real, right? This isn't going to disappear. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and still be here. Dom crouched down, looked Ethan straight in the eyes. This is real. This is permanent. You're not going anywhere except up those stairs to your room, and tomorrow morning you're going to wake up and come down to breakfast, and we're going to start figuring out this whole family thing together. I promise you, Ethan, and my life on everything I hold sacred, you're home. That night in his new bed with the thick comforter, Ethan stared at the ceiling and tried to process everything that had happened. 3 days ago, he'd been counting bottle caps behind a diner. Now he had a room, a family, a future. He thought about Patterson probably in a jail cell, his plans in ruins. He thought about the judge's face when she said, your son. He thought about 200 motorcycles rolling through town, declaring to everyone who saw them that this kid mattered, that this kid was protected, that this kid was loved. And for the first time in as long as he could remember, Ethan fell asleep without being afraid of what tomorrow would bring. because tomorrow he'd still be home. Morning came with the smell of pancakes. Ethan woke up confused, disoriented, his hand instinctively reaching for the cardboard he used to sleep on. But instead of cold pavement, his fingers found soft sheets. Instead of the dumpster's shadow, sunlight was streaming through a window. Instead of hunger gnawing at his stomach, the smell of real food was drifting up the stairs. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. Then he remembered. Home. This was home. He sat up, too fast, winced as his healing arm protested. The stitches were coming out next week, the doctor had said. Another appointment in his new life, another normal thing that normal kids with normal families did. Ethan, breakfast. Lily's voice carried up the stairs, followed by the sound of her feet thundering up to his door. She burst in without knocking, still in her pajamas, her hair a wild tangle. Daddy made pancakes, like a million pancakes. Come on, come on. She grabbed his good hand and pulled him out of bed down the stairs into a kitchen that smelled like maple syrup and butter and everything good in the world. Dom was at the stove, flipping pancakes with the same confidence he brought to everything else. He looked up when they entered, smiled. Morning, kid. Hope you're hungry. I always make too much. Ethan slid into a chair at the table, still half convinced this would disappear. Lily climbed into the seat next to him, already reaching for the syrup. Lily manners, Dom said, but he was grinning. Let Ethan get his plate first. But he's too slow. I'm not slow, I'm just... Ethan looked at the stack of pancakes, the fresh fruit, the orange juice in an actual glass. I'm just trying to remember how this works. Dom's expression softened. He set a plate in front of Ethan, 3 pancakes perfectly golden with a pat of butter melting on top. It works like this, you eat until you're full. You don't have to save anything for later or ration it out. There's always more. That's what home means. Ethan picked up his fork, cut into the pancakes. The first bite was warm and sweet, and so good he had to close his eyes. Good, Dom asked. Perfect, Ethan whispered. They ate together, Lily chattering about her plans for the day, showing Ethan her favorite spots in the neighborhood, introducing him to her friends, teaching him how to ride the bike Dom had bought for him. Dom listened, interjected occasionally, and Ethan just absorbed it all, trying to believe this was his life now. After breakfast, as Dom was washing dishes and Lily was upstairs getting dressed, Ethan stood at the kitchen window watching birds in the garden. You okay? Dom asked quietly. I know it's a lot. Yesterday was intense and now you're here and it's real. I keep waiting for it to stop being real. It won't, but that feeling that's going to take time to go away. You've lived 2 years expecting everything good to disappear. You can't unlearn that overnight. Dom dried his hands on a towel. But we've got time, and we've got patience, and we've got each other. What if I mess up? What if I don't know how to be part of a family? Then you learn, same as Lily and I learned after her mom died, same as anyone learns. You make mistakes, you apologize, you try again tomorrow. That's all family is, Ethan, people trying their best and forgiving each other when their best isn't perfect. The doorbell rang before Ethan could respond. Dom went to answer it, and Ethan heard voices, adult voices, official sounding. His heart started racing. Social workers. They were here to take him back, to say it was all a mistake, that Patterson had won on appeal, that Ethan, come here for a second. Dom called. Ethan forced himself to move his legs heavy with dread. But when he reached the door, it wasn't social workers. It was Marcus and Tommy, both looking pleased with themselves. Morning, little brother, Marcus said. Brought you something. He held out a leather vest, small, child-sized, with a Thunder Saints patch on the back. But instead of the usual member designation, this one said family. It's not a full patch, Marcus explained. You don't get that until you're 18 and you earn it. But this says you're Thunder Saints family. Protected. Claimed one of us. Ethan took the vest with shaking hands. The leather was soft, well-worn, like it had been broken in by someone who'd loved it. This was Steele's, Marcus said quietly. The old president, the one who saved me. He was about your size when his dad gave it to him, and he wore it until he outgrew it. Been sitting in storage ever since, waiting for the right kid. And you're the right kid. I can't take this. You're not taking it. We're giving it. Big difference. Marcus helped him slip it on over his t-shirt. It fit perfectly, hanging just past his waist. There, now, everyone knows you're protected. Tommy cleared his throat. Also came to give you an update. Patterson's been denied bail again. The DA's moving forward with charges: attempted kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to defraud. He's looking at 15 to 20 years. And Simmons, Dom asked. Resigned from the foster agency. under investigation by 3 different oversight boards, her whole operations being audited. They've already found 12 cases of fraudulent placements, kids who were put with abusive guardians and then marked as runaways when they fled. Tommy's expression was grim. Your case broke it wide open, Ethan. Those other kids, they're being found, being placed in real homes. You saved more than just Lily. The weight of that settled over Ethan like a blanket. He'd saved other kids. Kids like him who'd been failed by the system, who'd been given to monsters wearing human faces. Does that mean it's over? Ethan asked. Patterson can't come back, can't try to get custody again. It's over, Tommy said firmly. The court terminated his parental rights claim based on fraud and criminal conduct. He has no legal standing. You're safe. Safe. The word still felt foreign, like a language Ethan was just learning to speak. That afternoon, Dom drove Ethan to Riverside Elementary. The school was bigger than Ethan had imagined, with kids everywhere, noise and chaos and normalcy. You don't have to start tomorrow, Dom said as they sat in the parking lot. We can wait a few more days if you need to adjust. No. Ethan was staring at the kids on the playground, watching them play like they didn't have a care in the world. I want to start. I want to be normal. You are a normal kid. You've just been through abnormal circumstances. The principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, was kind but no nonsense. She walked them through the school, showed Ethan his classroom, introduced him to his teacher, Ms. Palmer, young and enthusiastic, who shook Ethan's hand like he was an adult. We're glad to have you, Ethan. Lily's told everyone about her new brother. You're kind of famous already. Famous. That was the last thing Ethan wanted. His first day of school was both easier and harder than expected. The kids stared, whispered, pointed at the bandages still visible on his arm. But Lily stayed close, fiercely protective, and when a boy named Connor asked if it was true that Ethan had fought a knife-wielding maniac, Lily jumped in before Ethan could answer. He saved my life, and if you're mean to him, you're mean to me, and then you're mean to my dad, and trust me, you don't want to be mean to my dad. Connor had gone pale and backed off immediately. At lunch, Ethan sat with Lily and her friends Emma, who was quiet and loved horses, and Josiah, who never stopped talking about dinosaurs. They asked him questions not about the stabbing or the trial, but about normal things. What was his favorite color? Did he like video games? Had he ever had a dog? I never had a dog, Ethan admitted. Or a pet. Never stayed anywhere long enough. You're staying now, though, right? Emma asked. Lily said you're staying forever. Yeah, Ethan said, and it was getting easier to believe. I'll be I'm staying. The first therapy session was 2 weeks later. Dr. Brennan was an older woman with kind eyes and an office full of fidget toys. She didn't ask Ethan to talk about his feelings right away. Instead, she had him build things with Legos while they chatted about school, about Lily, about the Thunder Saints. Tell me about the bottle caps, she said casually, like it was no big deal. I counted them. Behind the diner. It was something to do. Was it just something to do, or was it something more? Ethan thought about it while his hands assembled a Lego motorcycle. I guess it made me feel like I had control. Like even if everything else was chaos, I could make order out of the caps. I could sort them and count them, and they'd stay where I put them. And now, do you still need that control? Sometimes, when things feel too good, when I get scared, it'll all disappear. He attached the last piece to the motorcycle. Dom says that feeling will fade eventually. It will, but it's okay to feel it now. Trauma doesn't heal on a schedule, Ethan. It heals in its own time. By the time spring arrived, Ethan had settled into a rhythm. School homework dinner with Dom and Lily, weekends helping at the clubhouse or going on short rides with the Thunder Saints. Normal life, or as normal as life could be when you'd lived through what he'd lived through. But nightmares still came. Dreams where Patterson found him, where the judge changed her mind, where he woke up back behind the dumpster and realized it had all been a cruel fantasy. The first time Dom heard him screaming, he was there in seconds, scooping Ethan up despite his size, holding him close. You're okay. You're safe. You're home. He had me, Ethan sobbed into Dom's shoulder. In the dream, he had me, and you couldn't stop him. But in real life, I did stop him. We stopped him. He's in prison, Ethan. He can't hurt you. But what if? No what ifs. We deal with what is not what might be. And what is right now is that you're in your room, in your house with your family. That's the reality. Hold on to that. Gradually, the nightmares came less frequently. Gradually, Ethan started to believe in permanence. In June, 6 months after the hearing, Dom sat Ethan down at the kitchen table with papers spread out in front of him. I want to talk to you about something. It's big, and I want you to understand that you can say no if you're not ready. Ethan's stomach clenched. What is it? I want to adopt you, legally, make you my son on paper, not just in practice, which means your last name would change from Chen to Reyes, which means I'd be your dad officially. The world stopped. What? I'm asking if you want to be adopted, if you want me to be your legal father. No pressure, no rush. We can wait if, yes. The word exploded out of Ethan before Dom could finish. Yes, I want that. I want you to be my dad. I want Lily to be my sister for real. His voice broke. I want to be a Reyes. Dom's eyes were suspiciously bright. Yeah, you're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Then let's do it. Tommy's already drawn up the paperwork. Judge Morrison's agreed to fast-track it. We could have the adoption finalized by the end of summer. Ethan threw himself at Dom, careful of his now-healed arm, and held on tight. This man who'd bought him a burger, who'd fought for him in court, who'd given him a home and a family and a future, this man wanted to be his father. Thank you, Ethan whispered, for choosing me. Thank you for letting us choose you. The adoption hearing was nothing like the custody hearing. Same courtroom, same judge, but the atmosphere was completely different. The benches were packed with Thunder Saints, with teachers from Ethan's school, with neighbors who'd watched him grow over the past 6 months. Judge Morrison smiled when they walked in. Back again, I see, though under much better circumstances this time. Much better, Your Honor, Dom agreed. The proceedings were brief. Character witnesses spoke. Ms. Palmer talked about Ethan's progress in school. Dr. Brennan discussed his emotional growth. Marcus described how the Thunder Saints had embraced him as family. And then it was Ethan's turn. Ethan, Judge Morrison said gently, do you understand what adoption means? That Dominic Reyes would become your legal father with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. I understand, Your Honor. And is this what you want? Ethan looked at Dom, at Lily, sitting in the front row, grinning so hard her face might split. At the Thunder Saints filling the back of the courtroom. At the family he'd found in the most unexpected way. More than anything, he said, Dom's already my dad in every way that matters. This just makes it official. Then it's my pleasure to grant this petition. As of today, you are Ethan Michael Reyes, legal son of Dominic Reyes, legal brother of Lily Marie Reyes. Congratulations to your family. The courtroom erupted in applause. Lily was crying, Dom was crying, hell, Marcus was crying, and Ethan had never seen that before. They celebrated at the clubhouse where someone had hung a banner that said, Welcome to the family, Ethan Reyes. The party lasted until late, and Ethan must have been hugged by 50 different people, all of them, telling him how proud they were, how far he'd come, how he deserved this. That night, lying in bed as an official, Reyes Ethan stared at his new birth certificate. His name in black and white, Ethan Michael Reyes, son of Dominic Reyes, brother of Lily Marie Reyes. He'd started life as Ethan Chen, son of Sarah Chen, no father listed. He'd been reborn as Ethan Reyes, chosen and claimed and loved. Summer turned to fall and fall to winter. The anniversary of that night behind the diner approached, and with it something Ethan hadn't expected. We're doing a ride, Marcus explained during one of the club meetings Ethan was now allowed to attend. Every year on the anniversary of a significant event we ride. We did one when Steele died. We did one when Dom's wife passed. And this year we're doing one for you. For me, why mine? Because a year ago, a 7-year-old homeless kid showed us what courage really looks like. Because you saved Lily. Because you stood up to Patterson. Because you survived. Marcus's voice was rough with emotion. And because we want the whole world to know that the Thunder Saints protects its own and you're ours. How many people are we talking? We've been making calls, sending messages to chapters nationwide. Last count, we're expecting around 500 bikes. 500. Ethan's mind couldn't even process that number. The week before the anniversary preparations kicked into high gear. Routes were planned, permits, secured, safety protocols established. The local news caught wind of it and wanted to do a story. Dom said no initially, but Ethan surprised everyone by saying yes. If this helps other kids, Ethan told the reporter, a woman named Maria Santos, if it shows them that there are good people out there, that family isn't just about biology, then I want to do it. The interview aired 2 days before the ride. Maria asked him about that night, about the trial, about his new life. And Ethan, sitting between Dom and Lily on their living room couch, told his story without shame or fear. I thought I was nobody, he said, looking straight at the camera. I thought because I was homeless, Because my mom was gone, because I had no one, I thought I didn't matter. But then I met Lily and Dom and the Thunder Saints, and they showed me that everyone matters. That family is about who shows up for you, who fights for you, who sees you when you're invisible to everyone else. What would you say to other kids in situations like yours? Maria asked. I'd say, hold on. I'd say there are people out there who will see you, who will help you, who will choose to be your family. And I'd say that one act of courage can change everything. I threw myself in front of a knife for a girl I just met, and it gave me a family, a home, a future. Courage doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. The segment went viral. By the time the anniversary arrived, the ride had grown from 500 expected riders to over 700. The morning of the anniversary, Ethan woke before dawn. He pulled on jeans, the Thunder Saints family vest that he now wore with pride, and the boots Dom had bought him for Christmas. When he came downstairs, Dom was already up, dressed in his full riding gear. Ready for this? Dom asked. I don't know. 700 people. 700 people who believe in you, who believe in what you represent. Don't think of it as pressure. Think of it as support. Dom handed him a helmet custom painted with the Thunder Saints logo. And you won't be riding in the back today. You'll be riding up front with me, leading the procession. Me, but you're not just anything. You're Ethan Reyes. You're the kid who changed this club, who reminded us why we do what we do. Today you lead. They rode to the meeting point, the parking lot of Mulligan's Diner, where it all started. And when they arrived, Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Motorcycles stretched as far as he could see. Hundreds of them, thousands maybe, gleaming in the early morning light. Riders from California, Texas, New York, Florida states Ethan had never even visited. All here. All for him. A roar went up when Dom's bike rolled in. Engines revved in greeting. People were clapping, calling out Ethan's name. Marcus met them at the front of the formation. Kid, I want you to meet some people. He led Ethan through the crowd, introducing him to chapter presidents from across the country. Men and women with weathered faces and kind eyes, each one taking a moment to shake Ethan's hand to tell him what his story meant to them. You reminded me why I joined this club, one woman from the Oregon chapter said. To protect kids like you, to be family for people who need it. You gave my grandson hope, an older man from Texas added. He's been in foster care for 3 years. Saw your interview, asked me if there were people like the Thunder Saints where he lives. I told him yes, told him there's always someone who will fight for him. By the time Ethan had met everyone, the sun was fully up and it was time to ride. Dom helped him onto the bike, secured his helmet, made sure he was safely positioned. Lily was riding with Marcus today, giving Ethan the spot of honor behind her father. Hold on tight, Dom said. This is going to be something you never forget. The engines started in a wave of sound thunder, made manifest rolling across the parking lot, shaking the ground. 700 motorcycles all idling in synchronized anticipation. Dom looked back at Ethan. You ready to lead this family home? Ethan thought about the boy he'd been a year ago, counting bottle caps behind a dumpster, invisible to the world, convinced he didn't matter. And then he thought about the boy he was now. Ethan Reyes, son, brother, Thunder Saints family, protected, claimed, loved. I'm ready. Dom kicked his bike into gear and they rolled forward. 700 motorcycles fell into formation behind them, and together they pulled out onto the street. The road took them through downtown Riverside, past the courthouse where Ethan had been legally adopted, past his school, past the hospital where he'd recovered. At every intersection, people had gathered to watch. Some waved, some held signs saying, "Thank you, Ethan," and "Thunder Saints forever." Some just stood in respectful silence as the procession rolled past. The local news had helicopters in the air filming the massive formation of bikes moving through the city. The sight from above must have been incredible, a river of chrome and leather flowing through the streets with perfect coordination. They rode for an hour, the formation never breaking the engines, creating a symphony of power and unity. And when they finally circled back to the diner where it all started, they parked in formation, shut off their engines in perfect unison, and stood at attention. Marcus stepped forward and the crowd went silent. 1 year ago, he said, his voice carrying across the parking lot, "A 7-year-old boy taught us what it means to be Thunder Saints. He showed us that courage isn't about size or age or circumstances. It's about choice. It's about standing up when it matters, even when you're scared. Especially when you're scared." He turned to Ethan. "Kid, come up here." Ethan's legs felt like water, but Dom's hand was on his shoulder, steadying him. He walked to the front of the crowd, stood next to Marcus. "This vest you're wearing says family," Marcus continued, "and I want everyone here to understand what that means. It means you're protected by every person standing in this parking lot. It means you're claimed by the Thunder Saints. And it means that your story, your courage, your survival, your choice to love, even after everything you'd been through, that story is now part of our legacy." He pulled out a small box, opened it. Inside was a patch, the official Thunder Saints member patch, with Ethan's name embroidered underneath. Normally, you'd have to wait until you're 18 to get this. Normally, you'd have to earn it through years of service. But there's nothing normal about you, Ethan Reyes, so we're making an exception. This is yours, to wear or not wear as you choose. But know that when you're ready, when you turn 18 and decide you want to be a full member, you've already earned your place. Ethan took the patch with shaking hands. This symbol that meant everything to these people offered to an 8-year-old kid. "Thank you," he managed, "all of you, for showing up, for fighting for me, for teaching me that family isn't about DNA or last names or where you come from. It's about choice. It's about love. It's about standing up for each other when it matters." His voice grew stronger. "A year ago, I was nobody. I was invisible. But you saw me. Lily saw me. Dom saw me. You all saw me, and you chose to make me one of you. So I'm making a promise. When I'm older, when I can, I'm going to do the same thing for other kids. I'm going to see the invisible ones. I'm going to fight for them. I'm going to show them that they matter." The crowd erupted in applause. Engines roared to life in celebration. Someone started chanting, "Ethan, Ethan, Ethan," and soon 700 voices had joined in. Dom pulled Ethan into a hug, holding him tight. "I'm so proud of you, son. So damn proud." Lily wriggled between them, wrapping her arms around both. "I told you everything would be okay. I told you." And standing there surrounded by his family, both the one he'd been born into and the one he'd chosen, the one that had chosen him back, Ethan felt something he'd thought he'd lost forever. He felt like he was home. The celebration lasted all day. Food appeared from somewhere. Someone had arranged a cookout. Kids from Ethan's school showed up along with teachers, neighbors, local business owners. The mayor came to shake Ethan's hand and thank him for bringing positive attention to Riverside. As the sun set and the crowd finally began to thin, Ethan found himself back at the spot behind the diner where he'd counted bottle caps that first day. The dumpster was still there. The asphalt was still cracked, but everything else had changed. Dom joined him, 2 sodas in hand. He passed one to Ethan, and they sat down together on the ground. "You come back here sometimes," Dom said. It wasn't a question. "Yeah, not to sleep, just to remember, to remind myself how far I've come." "That's healthy," Dr. Brennan would approve. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the last of the motorcycles pull out of the parking lot, heading home. "Dom," Ethan said after a while, "can I ask you something? Anything? Why did you really do it? Why did you fight so hard for me? You could have just let the system take me, moved on with your life. No one would have blamed you." Dom was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. "You want the honest truth? The first reason was gratitude. You saved Lily's life. I owed you everything. But that's not why I kept fighting. That's not why I adopted you." He turned to look at Ethan. "I kept fighting because when I looked at you, I saw a kid who'd been failed by everyone who should have protected him. And I saw Lily looking at you like you'd hung the moon. And I thought about my wife, about the promise I made to raise our daughter to be good, to see people who need help and actually help them." He took a breath. "But more than that, I saw a kid who, despite everything, still had hope, still had courage, still had the capacity to love. And I thought, if I don't fight for this kid, if I let the system chew him up and spit him out, then what kind of man am I? What kind of father am I teaching Lily to grow up to be?" So I was a lesson for Lily. No, you were a choice. The lesson was that we make those choices, that when someone needs us, we show up, we fight. We don't walk away just because it's hard or complicated or scary. Dom's hand found Ethan's shoulder. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about saving you and started being about loving you. You became my son, not because I felt obligated, but because I couldn't imagine my life without you in it. Ethan leaned into Dom's side, letting himself be held. "I love you too, Dad." It was the first time he'd used the word Dad. Not Dom, Dad. Dom's arms tightened around him. "I love you too, son, more than you'll ever know." They sat there until the stars came out, until Lily came looking for them, complaining that she was starving, And when were they coming home? Because she wanted to watch a movie and eat popcorn and celebrate properly. Come on, Dom said, standing and pulling Ethan up with him. Let's go home. Home. The word that had once meant nothing that Ethan had thought he'd never have, again now meant everything. They walked to the bike together, Ethan in his Thunder Saints vest, Dom in his leather lily, chattering about what movie they should watch. A family pieced together from broken parts stronger for having been broken. As they rode through Riverside's quiet streets, Ethan thought about all the kids out there who were where he'd been a year ago. Invisible, afraid, convinced they didn't matter. And he made a silent promise to them and to himself he would spend the rest of his life proving that everyone matters, that family is choice, and that one act of courage, one moment of standing up when it counts, can change everything. Because that's what the Thunder Saints had taught him. That's what Dom and Lily had shown him. That's what he would carry forward. The motorcycle beneath him rumbled with power, carrying him toward home, toward family, toward a future he'd earned through courage and been given through love. And as they pulled into the driveway, as Lily raced inside calling for popcorn, as Dom smiled at him with pride and affection, Ethan knew one thing with absolute certainty. He wasn't that invisible boy behind the dumpster anymore. He was Ethan Reyes, son of Dominic, brother to Lily Thunder Saints family. He had been seen, chosen, claimed, and loved, and he would spend the rest of his life making sure other invisible kids knew they could be seen too. Because family isn't about the blood that runs through your veins. It's about the people who show up when it matters most and refuse to let you face the darkness alone.